welcome everyone. This is Glenda Dawson, and you're watching Glenda's Dragon's Den. LD couldn't make it today. I have him doing another mission, and he is very nicely has accepted those missions. So I could be here with you and introduce you to another phenomenal person. And of course, this she's already been on our show, but there's always more. There's more layers to a person. There's more layers to what they have to bring and what they're sharing with the world. So, welcome, and please continue to share, like, subscribe. The more, the the merrier, as they say. And just keep sending those messages and those emails. I love to read, and I always respond. So, welcome, JP. How are you?
Thank you. I am great. Thank you very much. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. You're here.
Oh,
What can I
I'm
say?
good. I made it. We made it.
We made it. So, for those that did not see the other show, tell us about you and just even refresh people's memories.
Okay. So I'm not very exciting, I'm afraid. I'm a very ordinary mum of three. My youngest is 16, coming up for 17. I have a daughter that's my son, youngest son. I have a daughter who is 18, and my eldest son is now 21. I know that I only look 21 myself in my dreams.
Hey, you know what? Take it, own
Yeah.
it.
But yeah, so I'm a mum. I live in England. I'm originally from southeast London, but I moved when I was about 42 to Hampshire, which is the south coast of England. It's like the countryside, and it's a beautiful place to live. Um, I am a qualified social worker, so I don't know if I mentioned that before. And I have worked in forensic mental health team, early intervention in psychosis team, learning disability team, lots of different teams. Um, and I basically, all my roles are supportive ones. So I'm currently working with people who are homeless or at risk of homelessness.
Mhm.
And then I also work with students who have some kind of neurodiversity. So it might be learning disability, it might be mental health. They might just be struggling and going through a really tough time at university, and I work with them as a specialist mentor. So I split part of my week with each of those roles. And then when I'm not doing either of those roles, or cooking or cleaning, then then I'm writing and reading, and pursuing my other passion. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, that's me, and I love all things paranormal, supernatural. I really enjoy um, yeah, all of that, horror films as well. I have done since I was very young, um, because I grew up in the 80s, and my parents didn't really have any kind of idea about uh, ratings, things like that. So they would allow me to watch really terrible films and read Stephen King when I was very young. And yeah, they had no clue.
Oh, come on. We all have to read Stephen King.
Yeah, it's a rite of passage. Stephen King, Dean Koontz, James Herbert, done.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So, growing up, you're watching all these movies and all that. Now, did that influence your writing or? Um,
I would like to think so. I hope so. I mean, that's pretty big shoes to fill. Probably Stephen King might see this one day and think, excuse me, I don't think so. I wish. Yeah, I mean, everything, as a writer, everything influences you, I would say. So, what I read as a teenager and
Mhm.
then growing up was a weird combination between really frightening, scary, atmospheric books and horror books and thrillers. And we used to have this thing here called Mills and Boon, which was like this old fashioned, I suppose they call it sweetheart romance now.
Mhm. Mhm.
And I would literally read thousands of those books as well. So I think that my stories always have a bit of cross genre in them. So there's a bit of romance, but I don't know if I adhere to their romance tropes because I know they're quite, you know, specific, the romance tropes.
Right.
So I'm not sure that I quite adhere to it, but there's always a bit of romance in my book, an undercurrent of love.
Mm.
And yes, for sure. I mean, I love Dean Koontz and Stephen King were like my favourites, I think. Um, and so I would like to think that because Dean Koontz and Stephen King are both, they're quite they write quite scary, frightening stories, quite
Mhm.
thrilling, but they also have an undercurrent of hope. There's underlying themes quite often of hope and of love and friendship. And
Mhm.
probably those same themes run through my stories, or I've tried to thread them through anyway.
Mhm. So, sounds good. What
Mm.
about your first book? Tell us about your book.
So the first, actually, I mean, I don't know if I said before, but the very first book that I wrote was an autobiographical novel. And so it was, um, I got it edited, like I worked with an editor and proofread it and everything. And then when it came to getting it published, I had approached a couple of literary agents, and then I had thought better of it because I thought actually I had written it too true to life.
Hey, sometimes we don't want that answer just yet.
Yes. And once it's out there, isn't it? And also, some of it wasn't true because it was a novel, but I
Right.
was thinking, well, people probably won't be able to distinguish between what is true and what isn't. They'll just assume it's all true. And
What?
I thought,
Right.
oh, God, it's too much. Um, and then, so I sort of put that to one side and won't be publishing that one. But I still had the bug to write. I've always had it, always written poetry and scraps of stories and short stories anyway. So I continued and I decided I was going to write a long form novel. And I had started going to this creative writing course, and it was an advanced creative writing course, and that helped me to keep momentum up and practice with my
Mhm.
craft. Um, and I joined a writers club online,
Mhm.
and they gave me lots of tips because although I have a degree in social work, not a degree in creative writing. So although
Right.
my English was quite good, I knew that there were things that there's always more to learn, no matter how
Mhm.
much you know or
Mhm.
how much you might already start off as okay. There's always ways that you can polish and improve. No one's perfect, least of all me. God knows.
Exactly.
So yeah, so I joined this writers club, and there's lots of webinars that were really helpful to developing your craft. And so I just watched everything, and then also So alongside the practical aspects of writing and publishing, as I was looking more into that and just finding these podcasts that were really helpful to self-published and independent authors. So things like Writers Inc. over in America, the self-publishing show here in the UK, and Joanna Penn podcast here in the UK. I was also working on, I suppose I wasn't actively working on, my subconscious was working on ideas for stories. So the beginning of my first novel, Psychic Voices, it was originally called A Psychic Subterfuge. But loads of people said, we don't know what the hell that means, please. So I listened.
Yeah, sometimes it helps to throw something out there and let them tell you what they feel.
Yeah, that's it. So it's called Psychic Voices. And I actually dreamt the beginning and I think the end. I dreamt. And the middle, I had a terrible nightmare actually, the end. I remember like waking up really frightened. It was quite scary. There's a part where the main character, shall we say, is being pursued. And that's the part that I had dreamt. So there was that, and so that was one part of the inspiration, and another part was my working environment. So remember, I worked in mental health for years and forensic team for years, so I've spent a lot of time in like psychiatric units and hospitals and supporting clients who've got mental health conditions and seeing the differences and noticing the differences in their behaviours when something is wrong and when they're struggling, and listening to their stories, what's going on inside people's minds and things, and also just guesswork of imagining and trying to empathise with people when they're going through their troubles. And the other thing I do is I read loads, and I happened across this scientific discovery. It was a study that was going on, and I thought, I wonder what would happen if if they did that to a human instead, and if the wrong person were able to get their hands on it.
Right.
So those were all the combination of my inspirations, if you like, for Psychic Voices. And that was my very first published novel. Yeah.
The other one is still in the drawer, being kept secret under lock and key.
It is. I never printed it, but it's in my documents where it will remain. Safe and sound.
There's times where you feel inspired and you write it and you heal through it, but it's not meant for anybody else's eyes.
That's so true. Because, at the end of writing that book, I literally felt that it was cathartic, because I literally felt a weight had come off my shoulders.
Right.
I remember stopping typing, thinking, right, that's it. And I had been unknowingly holding on to bitterness in my heart and some resentment. And I think that writing that book was just so necessary, because one, it helped me to methodically work through issues and things that had happened, and I could see triggers to certain events and what had happened, why. But I could also see positive outcomes from supposedly bad, unlucky events, and how that had, like, for the main character, improved their life and made them stronger and made them more compassionate and just deepened their personality and their character. And I could
Mhm.
see the parallel in me and my life that I had unconsciously written, you know, my
Mhm.
own feelings there.
Right.
And yeah, so it helped. I think you're right. Sometimes we need to, and sometimes just really cathartic. And that whole experience was a positive one. It wasn't a waste of time or
Right.
money. I mean, imagine how much you pay for therapy.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot. Yeah, I just paid an editor
But
to work with me, and that's it.
but it is true, sometimes that's why they say journal your feelings and all that. It's not that you're going to show it to her, but you're releasing it. You're getting it out of your psyche, putting it on
Yeah,
paper, and then when you read it, you're like, wow, okay.
yeah,
Maybe I
so
still
true.
need to work a little bit more on that to get rid of it completely. Oh, I thought I had forgiven them. I guess I wasn't
Oh,
really completely forgiving them. So,
yeah,
yes. Yes.
yeah, it's very
And
true.
now, so that was your very first published
Hmm.
book.
Yeah.
And what else are you
Well,
coming up
so
with?
in that series, so I have like in between big long form like novels,
Right.
I write short stories.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Sometimes I want to write, but I don't want to get stuck into a whole long thing.
Right.
So I'll just write a short story. Um, or like I said before, I have dreams. I
Mm-hmm.
have so many dreams, and I wake up and I write them in my phone on notes. I've got like I
Mm-hmm.
could just scroll down notes. I just write the stories down, but not like I couldn't give them to anyone as it's written in note form. So
Right.
sometimes I basically write them out properly,
Mm-hmm.
my my story ideas. So I have kind of probably about two and a half novellas, I'd say,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe one novel. So I thought what I'd do is every now and then I'd publish a collection of these short stories.
Okay.
So I have published, it's called The Twisted Fates, and it's a novella, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
collection of short stories. And they are sort of supernatural, quirky. If you ever watched or remember The Twilight Zone,
Mm-hmm.
quite a few people have told me it reminds them of that, The Twilight Zone, like those kind of stories. And then I also wrote another novella, which is kind of 1.5 of psychic voices in the Mary Jameson supernatural series.
Okay.
Um, so that is between at the end of the first book.
Uh-huh.
I've written an epilogue, but there's a jump in the
Right.
epilogue from the end of the story. So I wrote 1.5 as a kind of bridge.
Okay.
So between the end and the epilogue, you can see what happened. How did she get there? Because the epilogue is like 2 years after the end, so it's
Mm.
quite a significant jump. At least I
Hmm.
think it's 2 years. Anyway, there's a jump, and
Right.
1.5 bridges that jump. So
Good.
um, yeah, so I wrote that one, and that is called Psychic Training.
Okay.
And that's the Mary Jameson supernatural thriller series, but it's her story, how it continues before that epilogue.
Mm-hmm.
And and I have one here, Psychic Echoes.
Oh, yeah.
Finally. So I finally published book 2 in the
Mhm.
Mary Jameson supernatural thriller series. It's such a mouthful. And so I'm really pleased about that. so Psychic Echoes. I had quite a lot of feedback from the first book that it took a long while to start before the action thriller part kicked
Right.
in. And I kind of did that on purpose, but I didn't want to, I'm just mindful that I don't want to alienate my readers because I really
Right.
appreciate them.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to keep it more thrilling with this second book. So I tried to have to give the reader some reason to keep turning that page, like keep them interested in what was going to happen next to Mary or with Mary's story. And I hope that I have fulfilled that
Good.
with Psychic Echoes.
So just tell us a little bit, just to get the readers a little taste of, say, the latest book, just so they
Okay.
can say, oh, okay, sounds interesting.
So at the beginning of Psychic Voices,
Hmm.
Mary Jameson is she's a character she is mean. She's basically quite aggressive, verbally feisty and fiery, and her internal voice is quite aggressive. But as you get to know her, and this is why I spent quite a lot of time, as you get to know her, you see why. You understand that she lost her mum, who was lovely, to cancer at age 8. She was in the foster care system. She was in a really abusive foster home, and then she was put back into a children's home where she was bullied terribly. She had no friends. She had a terrible, like childhood and
Hmm.
adolescence, like really an awful experience. So you understand why. And then you see her start to blossom, and you see that deep down she's actually a good person. That these kind of behaviours are like a form of defence for her because she's scared that
Hmm.
she won't be loved, that she will be rejected as she has done in the past. And she desperately, comes to care for those around her. Then at the beginning of Psychic Echoes, we see her moved on. So the story skips another couple of years, and we see her living. I won't say who she's living with or in what situation, because then that will ruin it for those who haven't
Right.
read Psychic Voices. But we see her situation, her living situation. She is happy. She is
Hmm.
happy. She wants to have this and is fully embracing and loving the idea of this perfect life. And she just wants everything to be, like 2.4 children, a husband, the cars, the job, the home, the perfect
Right.
home. She wants all of this idealistic, family, that she has
Hmm.
been searching for family for so many years since her mum died. Um, so she wants that, and it seems like she's just on the cusp of achieving that for herself when when she is asked by a friend who's a police officer to help with a search for a missing child.
Hmm.
So this officer is aware of her supernatural powers. He knows that she's a psychic, that she has lots of gifts, and that she could possibly help because they've got no clues of this missing child. So then she kind of has this massive dilemma of can she, she's deathly afraid of falling into the kind of downward spiral of her mental health,
Hmm.
of being overwhelmed by the supernatural gifts that she has, and then that dragging her down into where she was before with her mental health,
Hmm.
unable to focus, unable to carry on with her daily life and look after herself. So she's she's kind of torn because she's got a soft spot for children and animals, and she so she wants to help, and she can't bear the idea of not helping find a child that's missing. But on the other hand, she is really scared of what that will mean,
Mm-hmm.
um, for her life, that she's just now getting on track and, you know, enjoying. She's only just now in her early 20s starting to have a life that she can enjoy and be proud of, and embrace, really, and look forward to a future. So she has to make that
Mm-hmm.
choice, and it's not an easy one for her. And then we see the choice that she makes, and we see her develop throughout the story and throughout her following choices that she makes. And I hope that it's in a thrilling way.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. And
uh,
and so book two
yeah,
brings the rest of her story, basically.
yes. So I mean, it's not fully the rest of her story,
Right.
because it ends in such a way that, I think you will know that there will be a continuation.
Mm-hmm.
So I have already started writing book three,
Okay.
um, and I know what will happen in books 4 and 5 as well.
Okay.
Um,
Good.
so
Good.
there's at least another 3 more in the pipeline
Good.
for Mary.
Now, you say that a lot of the times for the novellas, short stories, and all that, you grab that from your dreams. So you're kind of channeling the books, basically.
Well, I mean, you mentioned that before, and I was thinking, oh, I never really thought about it like that, because I thought, like, to channel, I would have to be. I mean, I'm probably stupid. I thought to channel, you would have to be aware of it, like awake,
Yeah.
cognizant, and think, right, I'm going to channel now, because I
Uh
don't
huh.
really know how it works. Um, but I mean, I who knows? Who knows where dreams come from?
I
Really, there's no
yeah.
definitive answer, is there? So, I I'm channeling it from somewhere.
Hmm. Well,
So
I
yeah,
believe like artists, they look at a blank canvas and they all of a suddenly is like a day or two go by and they could just see what they're going to do. So it's
hmm
the same thing with writing. It's
yeah.
creating. So, you're kind of channeling the ideas. Your guys are going, hey, you need to write about this one. And here's a movie of it.
Oh, your lips are this.
Well,
Yeah,
why not? It's basically what they're doing. They're showing you the movie so you can write the script so then you can present it as a movie. So why not?
yeah. And you do see, I do see my dreams like films. Do you see
Hmm.
your dreams like
Yes.
films?
Hmm.
Yeah, because some people don't, do they? I thought
I know.
everyone did.
Yeah, nope, not everybody does. Yeah,
Yeah.
no. And if I write them down as soon as I wake up, I remember every single detail.
Mhm.
Of course, as the day goes on, like a coffee, all that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, me too. And also, if I have like a plot
mhm,
problem to solve, sometimes the answer will come to me when I'm relaxed and not
mhm,
thinking about it. So when I'm in the shower or bath, quite often when I'm walking in
mhm,
nature, and then the idea will come to me. But sometimes, thinking about that now, sometimes the idea will come to me in picture form then also.
mhm.
So a picture will flash in, and then I will stop right on my phone again in notes,
Yeah,
and it will just flow. It will just flow really quickly, easily, and
right.
once it's like I'm downloading it onto the
Exactly.
phone. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's basically channeling your ideas or channeling the clarity of
Yes.
what you want.
Yeah.
Um, that's why I always tell people, if you over focus on something, the answer is not going to appear because your
Mm,
mind is so thinking that it won't allow any ideas to come in.
mm.
So, yeah, so it is channeling doesn't have to be you're awake and I'm going to channel. It's so many different ways you could even do automatic writing, just where you close your eyes and you write or you type and whatever comes on, you're like, whoa, okay, there you go. And it's the same way. So it's a good gift to have if you're a writer. A
Yeah.
very good gift to have if you're a writer.
Well, we
Because
all
you
get
be,
in the zone, don't we?
yeah, yeah,
We all
different
get in
ways.
the zone. Doesn't matter what. Because I was, who was I listening to? It was something on the internet. I was listening to a speaker, and she was talking about painting, and
Hmm.
she was saying that she gets in the zone when she paints, and that's part of the reason why she loves to paint was so
Hmm.
that she could feel that feeling of when she's
Hmm.
in the flow and they talk about the flow state as well, don't
Hmm.
they?
Hmm. Exactly.
So I think
Exactly.
it's probably all the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. I honestly believe that no matter what you do, I mean, it's how they say meditation.
Hmm.
Meditation isn't only about, closing your eyes and whom you could walk, you could run, you can just even find a meditative state just by looking out your window,
Hmm.
and just looking out at the birds flying and all that. And all of a sudden, your monkey mind relaxes and you're able to allow that flow of information to come in.
Mm. Mm.
So, um, that's very good. That's very good. I like the idea that you see it in movies. That's very important
Mm.
because I really believe that they're going to give you a movie.
Mm. I hope so.
That'd be, yes.
That'll
Even
be
if
good.
it's a small movie, it's
Would you
still.
like to be on the movie, Glenda?
Oh no, honey. I don't think I'm good at acting. Although you never know.
What?
I
Of
know.
course you would be. We could do a walk on. We could both do one. Passerby.
Yeah, we'll do like Stephen King, who's always a small role in his movies.
Oh, does he now? Do you know, I never knew that.
Yes, if you watch every single Stephen King movie, he's in there. Very
Oh,
small role. Like he
oh,
could be
it's
the delivery guy, or he could be
like
the guy.
Stan Lee. He used to do that.
Yeah, just very small, but that's his signature. Like you'll know that that's a real Stephen King movie if he's in there.
Oh,
So
I'm going to
yeah,
watch
so there
that.
you go. You got it. You got it. So
Mm.
um now what what do you foresee besides this series? Do you foresee any other thing coming in the pipeline?
Um, I mean, I have some ideas. So I mentioned before I've got at least another 3 books
Right.
in the Mary Jameson Supernatural series, but
Mm-hmm.
also I have an idea for kind of spin-off of
Mm-hmm.
that series
Mm-hmm.
that I can't talk too much about, but already it's it will be another few books in that series
Right.
as well.
Right.
And I have another idea that I'm mulling around, but it's in a different genre.
Right.
Um, so I'm kind of torn because I'm thinking I could still use my same author name, JP
Mm-hmm.
Alters, because I'm quite attached to that name now as well. Uh, but I don't know if it would like antagonize readers of the supernatural thriller series. It will be, there's some uh, kind of quantum physics in the psychic echoes, and
Mm-hmm.
like the Mary Jameson supernatural series. There's a bit about quantum physics, but I'm quite interested in sci-fi. So I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking maybe a sci-fi or maybe a cli-fi, like climate sci-fi
Mm-hmm.
book at some point, because I did dream the beginning of one of those. And
Well,
it's a shame to waste them.
and you don't want readers to feel all over the place. You want readers to know that they find under your name all these different types, whether it's a
Exactly.
different genre or not. It's um, it's something that they will look forward to different types of books, and I think that that is very helpful to keep the same name and just put it all under there. The and that kind of sounds paranormalish too, because
It could be. It
yeah,
could be.
everything under paranormal is anything but the normal, right?
That's true, you know. Yeah.
So it isn't just about ghosts or beings or uh, someone talking from the other side. It's about all these other things.
Mm,
Um, that why not? Even quantum, if you looked at it in the very beginning, everybody thought that was paranormal.
yeah.
So, now they realized, hey, there is energy. There is, you are able to jump things and you are able to do all this. So,
Yeah.
I would just keep it all under the same thing. But
Mm,
plus, one will be attached to the other one, really. And people will
mm,
read any one of them and say, oh, I want to read more.
that's true. And I
So,
think I'll still have, like, I have my voice,
right.
and my style of writing. So
Exactly.
I think that might develop, but you will always be able to tell one of my books,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, as opposed to someone else's, I suppose. I would hope, because we're all unique, aren't we?
Right. Right.
So we've all got our own styles and our own, like, turn of phrase. Even if we're telling the same story, we all tell it with a different spin, don't we?
Exactly. Exactly. We could look at the sky with a full moon, and each one of us could look at the full moon, and then we will look at one star over here. Somebody could look at one star over there. Somebody could say no
Yeah.
stars. So
Yeah.
it's it's very, very important to remember all that. So what besides the movies, what else influenced you?
Um, so for this book,
Mm-hmm.
um, I I don't want to say it wrote itself, because it was a real load of hard work.
Mm-hmm.
But it just seemed so natural. Like, the progression of Mary's story just seemed so natural to me,
Right.
that it was like it wrote itself. so, so it was. I mean, it did take a lot of editing. I'm going to say
Mhm.
I had a fantastic editor as well, who
There's
helped.
always a lot of editing, and you're always like,
Yes,
really?
I don't
That
love.
sounded so good to me. What do you
I
mean?
don't love editing, and it's like, it's just soul destroying when you see the
Yeah.
suggestions. You're like, oh, I can't write the whole thing again.
Yeah,
Um,
basically. There
yeah,
are times where you're like, it sounded flowy and perfect for me. What do
yeah.
you mean?
I but I thought that was good, but no.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Rewrite
it's
it.
yeah, it's like the whole thing. You've got to write the whole book again. But it was so worth it, because afterwards,
Mhm.
you, as you're going through it, like, I felt actually, oh my goodness, there's so much work I have to do.
Mhm.
But and I had written the story really quite quickly,
Right.
so it did honestly flow. It just came really quickly, and it was like just a natural flow, natural progression.
Mhm.
ABC. It just all was just not common sense, but it was like that almost.
Right.
And I probably took the same, if not more, time to edit the book than I did to write the entire book. So that was a really hard part. So the inspiration, I suppose, was for the second book was just book one.
Right.
I'm sure I had my usual dream sequence here and there, and like
Mm-hmm.
walk-in epiphany that I usually get when I'm stuck on something. Um, but yeah, I would say the book one and Mary's character like firming up
Right.
and crystallizing more in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that would be the inspiration for book two because, and then, but I weirdly I had I wrote the plot for book three at the same time as I wrote the plot for book two
Mm-hmm.
because the whole thing just occurred to me.
Right. Right. So it just floated. So basically, I think what they wanted you to do is to see where it was going,
Hmm.
if in case it didn't sound as you're writing it,
Oh
you know,
yeah,
because
yeah.
they wanted you to be able to understand that this is where it's going. She's got to go through these steps before she
Mm,
could get here. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
nice, nice. Now, how would you describe what would be the level of I don't know, scariness or keep you at the edge of your seat?
Oh,
0 to 5. How's that?
well, I don't know because I have been known to watch horror films by myself. So
Uh,
I went to see Smile. Did you watch Smile?
no, no.
I went to see
I
Smile by myself.
okay,
I was
okay.
frightened. I did.
I love, in a way, I love horror movies because it gets me like, oh, whatever. But then I have to turn on all the lights in the house and walk with a flashlight just in case the lights go out. Yeah, no.
I
So
do the same.
you know,
I do the same.
don't sleep basically, but you're coming on. And,
Bedroom light on.
and this is a girl who does paranormal, who has done paranormal
Oh, that's so
investigations,
cool.
walks into haunted properties with no problem. I see a movie, which I know it's not real. I know it's, and I'm like sleeping like
But you're
this.
so brave. Do you really do that? Now, we had that conversation before, and I was talking about possibly doing that, but
Yeah.
then maybe being a bit too frightened. I haven't decided if I'm going to. But you
I
actually do paranormal investigations.
uh-huh. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
cool.
I've done it since I was in my 20s. When there was no one to you could really talk to. I actually have now stepped back from actually investigating. What I do
Hmm.
is I get called to houses who people already know they have something, and I go in there to try to negotiate between the spirit world and the human world or the life
Mm.
world, so everybody can live peacefully. Because it isn't always that there is demonic or evil. It's just sometimes the spirits are angry, and
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
you go into property. Say you're at your house. Somebody walks into your house and says, "Hey, I want you to get me a glass of water. I want you to do this. I want you to do that." You would tell them, "Who are you?" Uh,
Yeah.
no way. You're not,
Yeah.
you're not ordering me around. So spirits do also get a little
Mm.
ticked off when people do that. So,
So
and
you're
that's,
like that lady in Poltergeist. You know the one she says, "This house is clean." That one that saves the day. You're
Yeah,
going in saving the day.
yeah, basically. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't throw them out if they don't need to be thrown out. Because let's face it, Earth has been around for a long, long time,
Mm.
and there's a lot of dead people.
There must be.
you know,
They've got to go
so
somewhere.
they got to go somewhere. And yes, they go into the light and all that, but a lot of them are attached to a house. Like, I went to a place where the lady was there waiting for her husband to come from the sea. He went into uh, the naval
Hmm.
fleet, and I mean, it was a long, long time ago. So she kept walking up the steps all the way to the peak where she could look at the sea and hopefully waiting for. So she stayed with the house.
That's so sad.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of different things that occur that aspect of your soul cannot leave
Mm.
because it's stuck in a rewinding
Yeah.
and redoing. So,
And maybe it needs someone like you to tell them, hey,
yeah.
like,
Yeah,
if
you're dead.
he's not this way, he's that way.
Yeah, if you
Or,
go that way, you'll find them there.
yeah.
So yeah,
Oh,
so it could be scary, but if you go in there and you do your little prayer or your little protection before you go in there, there's
mhm.
nothing to be scared about. Actually, it's to me it's a lot of fun because I look at it as history. So I get the real story from the people that are there. Not the it's not always the same history in the history books. So
Oh, and so do you hear them? Are you like,
I hear them, I see them.
oh,
I Yeah, I have all my clears open. So when I walk
oh,
into a property or anywhere, I
hmm,
basically, but I learned how to shut it off
oh,
because eh, everywhere
like
you go,
Mary.
yeah, yeah, just shut it off so you can
Yeah.
actually participate in the human experience.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So,
Mm.
I am sure you could go in the paranormal. Go with one of those public events that are around. And, you'll have people there who are already done it and are experts and could guide you through everything.
Yeah, I was thinking of doing. So remember, I was thinking about doing the one with a church team, a
Mm-hmm.
deliverance team.
Right.
But also, I've got some paranormal investigator like groups I've joined on Facebook.
Good.
So I was thinking of finding one in my local area, and like joining them. I think I would be less scared if there was a few
Yes.
people.
Yes. And you'll look, if you could go and watch horror movies by yourself, it's a shoe in. You could do
Yeah,
it.
I'll tough it
Now
out.
we are coming close to the end of the show. Is there anything else you would like to tell our audience that you have covered?
No, not really. Just thank you. Thank you for everyone. Thank you for your time, for watching, and for getting to know me and a bit about my story. And thank you to those readers who have given me their reading time so far, and maybe will do in the future.
Hmm.
And I would, if you want to find me, you can find me on Facebook, TikTok. I'm mostly on Facebook though, and sometimes Instagram. And I have my website www. Um, jpaltersauthor.com. That's it. So you can find me there. Just search my name. And I love to hear from you. I'll be very grateful to hear from you. And thank you so much for having me again, Glenda. It's gone so
Oh, thank
quickly.
you.
Like before,
Yes, thank you
it's
for
been so,
coming.
Yeah.
Yes, it always does. We have a lot of fun. And I thank you for coming back. Thank you for, telling us all about the new adventures and what's coming up in the pipeline so we could look forward to it. And thank you to our audience and everyone that's always with us. So remember, like, share, subscribe, and keep sending those emails and comments. We look forward to them. As always, thank you. Many blessings and love you.
Lovely.
Bye.
Thank you.